everyone, I'm Chris, and welcome to another episode of Winter Moon Games Tabletop Reviews. Today I'm very excited because it's not only the 10th episode, but I have a really cool game in front of me. This is Chronicles of Crime by Lucky Duck Games. I was actually able to pick this up at PAX Unplugged just a couple weekends ago. Thank you to those of you at the Lucky Duck Games booth who hooked me up with the review copy. This game is super unique and I can't wait to unpack it and tell you a little bit more about it. In the base game of Chronicles of Crime, there's actually going to be 3 different scenarios. One scenario, however, has 3 chapters, and each chapter is pretty much a full-length game. So technically you get 5 chapters in the base game. Now each scenario is different, and you're going to be working together with your team or by yourself, because it is single player, to solve a murder or a crime of some sort. Now the game is kind of set up here, but the only thing you're going to have out when you first start is the board. You're going to find the Scotland Yard location, you're going to place that at the bottom of the board, and then you're going to take the 4 locations here: Morgue, Forensic Laboratory, Intelligence Bureau, and Criminology Center, and you're going to distribute those evenly or however you want to amongst the players that are playing the game. So each person will kind of be in charge of a different location. So the great thing about Chronicles of Crime is the whole game pretty much is played through an app that you can download on a device or a phone. The app is free, and once you download it and fire it up, it takes you through a tutorial mission that is optional, but it gives you a layout of the game and a general idea of how to play. The game works mainly by scanning QR codes that are on every single card. You have location cards, you have suspects, you have items, and each card has a QR code on it that you scan within the app itself. An optional add-on you can get are these funky VR glasses that actually slide over your phone, and you can actually use them at certain points to look through and have a VR experience for the game itself. These usually come into play during the crime scene investigation part of the game, where you actually put them on the phone and you can look around the room and you can identify clues in the crime scene. Now, as you're looking through these VR glasses and you're looking at the crime scene, you're going to be kind of yelling out what you see. So you might say, I see a knife, or I see food, or I see firearms, or something like that. And as you're shouting these things out, your team is looking through the clue cards to see if anything matches with what you're saying. So if I say firearms, there actually is a firearms card that you can find in the clues, and they would put that aside. Now you only have 40 seconds to look at the crime scene until the screen goes black. Once the screen goes black, it'll actually give you an option to pass the crime scene to another player and have them have a chance to look through it, or you can end right there and continue with the mission. Everything you do in Chronicles of Crime takes time, so passing the VR glasses to the next player to look at the crime scene takes up time. Moving locations or questioning suspects all takes time. It's 5 minutes to interrogate a suspect in-game, and it's also 20 minutes to move to a different location. This is not real time, I'm talking about in-game time. So for certain missions, you really want to be mindful of how much time you're wasting, how much time you're spending. You want to be thinking and discussing with your group of the best course of action, of who you should question or which places you should go, because if you spend a lot of time doubling back and covering the same ground, you may run out of time, and that will affect your endgame score. So as you're questioning suspects and you're moving locations and you're scanning these QR codes, depending on certain things that you do, it can change how people respond to you. Now there's no spoilers here, but let's just say, for instance, that I have a dead body on my hands and I want to go question a suspect over here in South Bank. I would first scan the QR code at South Bank. Once the app confirms that you're at that location, you can go ahead and scan anything else in that location. In this case, I have this woman here who's in South Bank. I will scan her QR code, and that will initiate a conversation with her. If I've already found a clue, like let's say for instance the firearms, I can then scan the firearms card while I'm talking to her, and she will tell me what she knows, if anything, about the firearms. Let's say then she doesn't know anything, but then I find somebody else later who tells me something else that gives me another clue, and I go back to her and ask her about that clue. Suddenly the game changes, and she's now revealed herself to be a little bit more in the know than she let on originally. And like I mentioned in the beginning, you have these other locations, more so specialists that each player has. You can ask each of them at any time. You can call upon them to ask them about clues, to ask them about people. The Criminology Center is sort of a criminal profile center, so you can ask them about different suspects and they'll give you clues. The morgue is where you obviously examine dead bodies and do autopsies or test blood. So there's a bunch of different options here, and they each point you in different directions and lead you to more clues. So there's a lot of QR code scanning in this game. It's almost every second you're going to be scanning a new code. The major game element here lies within what you and your team put into it. If you really let yourself be absorbed absorbed by the story, you're going to enjoy this game a lot more. For me, I love detective stuff. I love crime stories. This game is right up my alley. The overwhelming sense that makes me feel like I'm a detective in a high-profile murder case totally overrules some of the monotony of the constant scanning. You find yourself getting wrapped up in the narrative of the game, which I think was the goal of the designer. And if you're a thematic type of gamer, you're going to love Chronicles of Crime. Now, if you're feeling the pinch of running out of time, or you think you've solved the case, you can go back to Scotland Yard at any time and talk to the chief and make a final decision on the case. Once you initiate this part of the game, you're going to answer a series of questions. The questions may range from who did it, where did it happen, what was the weapon, those kinds of things. And as you answer the questions, you're going to be scanning the QR codes on each card that you think is the correct answer. This is the only part of the game that got a little confusing. Some of the questions might be like, what was the reason for the crime? So at that point, you're not really sure if you should scan a clue, a person, a location, and so you kind of have to guess at what the best possible answer might be based on the context of the case. I did feel, however, that after playing Chapter 1 of my scenario, I felt like I have a better grasp on what to do for Chapter 2, and I might have an easier time. Overall, Chronicles of Crime is a breath of fresh air. It's got a great theme of being a detective, which is a theme that's not often tapped. The artwork is beautiful, the design is super clever, the app integration is a ton of fun, and you're going to have a blast mapping out suspects, clues, and locations to try to figure out who done it. I apologize in advance, I'm probably going to butcher your name, but this game was designed by David Sekurl, and it was published by Lucky Duck Games. I was very excited to try Chronicles of Crime, and I wasn't disappointed. I'm going to be giving Chronicles of Crime 5 out of 5 moons, a perfect score, and it will be the first game of games that I've reviewed to be added into the Winter Moon Games Gold series. The Winter Moon Games Gold series award is not given out lightly. I give it to games that stand out to me, that have a clever theme, that have tried a different angle and done something unique. Chronicles of Crime has done that, and they've done it exceptionally well. As always, you can take a look at more tabletop reviews at wintermoongames.com/reviews. Find me on your social media platform of choice, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Or if you have a question about Chronicles of Crime or you'd like to give me your thoughts on the game, or if you have a game you'd like me to review or preview for Kickstarter, please send me an email at cb@wintermoongames.com. As always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.